Nathaniel Kingsley was a name that commanded respect and power. The billionaire tech mogul owned half of Silicon Heights, drove cars custom-made in Europe, and attended meetings where one missed word could shift millions. He had grown used to the language of success, confidence, control, and above all, superiority. People bowed to his words. His home staff barely looked him in the eye unless summoned. And in his penthouse apartment on the 89th floor of the Kingsley Tower, no one dared speak unless spoken to until one ordinary afternoon when everything changed. Amara Johnson was not a name anyone in that building recognized. To most of them, she was just the maid. She moved through the vast marble halls of the penthouse in silence, dusting priceless artifacts, cleaning imported Persian rugs, and arranging the billionaire's endless collection of books and tech gadgets. Born and raised in a small town in Mississippi, Mara had come to New York with dreams too big for her pocket and too bright for her circumstances. A college dropout, after her mother's sudden death, Mara took up whatever work she could find to support her younger brother back home. That's how she ended up cleaning houses and eventually working for the Kingsley estate. Nathaniel never really noticed her. To him, staff were background furniture, useful, necessary, but invisible. He paid well, not because he was generous, but because he believed good pay kept mouths shut and eyes lowered. Amara, however, was different. She worked with quiet grace, never fearful, never eager. She was efficient, respectful, and oddly composed, a presence Nathaniel couldn't quite ignore for long. One afternoon, Nathaniel was hosting a gathering of investors from different parts of the world. The meeting was more casual than usual, with wine glasses in hand and expensive cigars on the terrace. Among the guests was a Japanese AI scientist, a French banker, and a Saudi investor. They were discussing global expansion, multilingual data networks, and real-time language translation. Nathaniel was bragging about his latest project, a language translation software that could convert over 90 languages instantly. He chuckled. As he spoke, we're getting to the point where no one will need interpreters anymore. Soon, even your maid could decode a high-level Chinese document. His guests laughed politely. Just then, Amara entered the room quietly to clear the empty glasses. Nathaniel, in a playful but mocking tone, turned to her and said, "You there, Amara, right?" She nodded calmly. He smirked. "I've got a little challenge for you." "Translate this," he said, pulling out a complex paragraph printed in Mandarin from one of the proposal folders. "If you can read this and tell me what it says accurately, I'll give you my entire month's salary. What do you say?" His guests laughed again, assuming it was all just for show. Amara paused. She looked at the paper, then at him, her eyes firm and steady. "Are you serious, Mr. Kingsley?" she asked politely. "Dead serious," he said with a wide grin. "My salary for the month is roughly $6.2 million. Translate that paragraph correctly, and it's all yours." The room chuckled, already assuming she would walk away embarrassed. But Amara didn't. She took the paper gently, walked over to the table, and glanced through the lines. The room fell silent. Everyone watched her, expecting her to struggle or ask for help. Instead, in a clear, calm voice, she began translating the paragraph line by line. Her Mandarin was flawless, her pronunciation impeccable. The text spoke of an expansion strategy into Eastern Asia, risks of governmental overreach, and the need for data security across linguistic barriers. By the time she was done, the room was so quiet that even the soft hum of the air conditioning felt loud. Nathaniel stared at her. Dumbfounded, the French banker leaned forward. That was correct. "I speak Mandarin fluently." Every word she said was accurate. The Japanese scientist nodded. "Absolutely. And her accent. She's clearly studied in depth." Nathaniel's smirk vanished. His face stiffened. "Where did you learn that?" Amara looked at him calmly. "Peking University. I was on a scholarship for linguistics. I speak 6 languages. Mandarin, French, Arabic, Spanish, Swahili, and Latin. I was top of my class before I had to drop out. Why are you working here?" Nathaniel asked, his voice suddenly softer. She smiled. Because my education couldn't save my mother when she got sick, and my degree doesn't feed my brother. I needed work, and your house was hiring. The guests looked at each other awkwardly. Nathaniel felt something unfamiliar. Shame. The room he once controlled now watched him in silence. But a bet's a bet, Amara added gently, handing him the paper. He stood there for a few seconds, unsure what to say. Finally, he laughed nervously and said, "You just earned $6 million, Ms. Johnson." "I didn't do it for the money," she replied, "but thank you." She left the room quietly, back to her duties. But everything had changed. That night, Nathaniel couldn't sleep. For the first time, he questioned the way he saw people. How he had dismissed a mind as brilliant as Amara's just because she wore a cleaning uniform. The next morning, he called her into his office. "Amara," began, his tone respectful, "I want to apologize for yesterday. I was arrogant, and I underestimated you. I've never been that speechless in my life." She gave a small smile. "Apology accepted. I want to offer you a new role," he continued. "How would you feel about heading our multilingual communications division? You'd oversee translation accuracy for all global projects. Full benefits. A salary fit for your skills. And of course, that $6.2 million is yours. A promise is a promise." Amara looked stunned but composed. "Are you sure about?" This Nathaniel nodded. "I've never been more sure of anything." Amara paused, took a breath, and said, "I accept on one condition." "Name it." "You hire more people based on talent, not background. Give others like me a chance." Nathaniel extended his hand. "Deal." From that day forward, Amara Johnson was no longer the maid in the Kingsley Tower. She was the voice behind its global expansion, respected, admired, and often quoted as the woman who humbled a billionaire with nothing but her mind. And Nathaniel Kingsley, he became a different man, not just richer in wealth, but richer in wisdom. He never again judged someone by the role they played, only by the strength of their spirit.